Washington, D.C., but I know somebody who does know what it's like in D.C. right now, and that is our next guest here on Indiana in the Morning. Jennifer Cornick is on the line with us, Human Resources Director at a number of different enterprises, and somebody who knows her way around an office and around the people working at that place. Jennifer, what's it like in D.C. today?
Hey, good morning. Thank you very much for having me today. It's sunny. It's sunny today, but every day is going to have a few challenges. We are all watching the news. We're staying abreast of all the information that's happening, and we're all just really kind of waiting for the next thing, right? So
Yeah.
we've heard a lot of things that are being said on Capitol Hill, but there's a lot of fear. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of uncertainty, and every day we're gonna see how we can navigate through this next issue.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
lack of a better word.
Our visit with Jennifer this morning is presented by Marcus & Mack, voted best law firm and best personal injury lawyer 3 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. You can visit them online at marcusandmack.com. Jennifer, it seems like every day we're getting new stories about Generation Z. And especially about Generation Z and their role in the workplace and how difficult it can be working with folks from intergenerational aspects and how sometimes it's not as bad as people are saying. That is really the subject of our visit here this morning. Bosses are complaining about Generation Z in the workplace, but you say, you know what? It's always been difficult, but it's not as difficult as we're making it appear. Correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Actually, is it something that we haven't heard before? Honestly, we've heard this before. Every generation comes up. It's a new generation that paves the way. We opened up. Boomers were too radical. Gen X was too cynical, and, millennials were just too entitled. But let's talk about Gen Z. They're being labeled as being lazy, entitled, and too casual, but are they? I mean, is it just kind of one of those new worker challenges that we're going through? They're not kids. They're 28 years old. Those are real adults. So we look at Gen Z as a workforce that they're not the problem. They're just the next step moving into a new, innovative workforce. And that's why we should challenge this and say, this isn't BS. It's a new way to look at things.
Yeah, one of the interesting things is every day there are articles. I saw 3 of them today, 3 articles all having to do with Gen Z in the workplace. The one that interested me the most was where previous generations of workers, they're suffering from burnout. Today's employees from Generation Z, they're suffering from bore out. They're bored at work.
Yeah. You know what? That is exactly what I'm hearing too. But honestly, what they're doing right now is just kind of shifting the narrative. They're looking for a work-life balance. So when you're looking at burnout's not something that happens away. Burnout is something that takes a long period of time before it sets in. So, that new priority is work-life balance. And that's not a sign of weakness. It's something that we should all be looking at. I think one of the biggest data collection that we can see and that we review, that Gen Z is not less productive. They're actually really highly adaptable and entrepreneurial. And before too long, without throwing too many statistics out there, by 2028, we're going to have 36% of the workforce made up of Gen Z. Mm-hmm. That's something we need to embrace and not push back, and think about what we're really trying to do in the workplace, and that's creating, again, just a work dynamic that fits work-life balance.
Well,
is that so difficult?
Well, that might be a part of the problem, is that we're looking at it from the older workers' perspective. Those are the ones generally in the position of being decision makers within a business. As the Generation Z folks approach their 30s now, and then they get to their mid-30s and on toward 40, over the next decade, I would assume that workplaces are going to be more maybe not more efficient, but certainly more designed for somebody who's in that age range, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, if we paired a two-way mentorship program, looking into this and embracing it, honestly, just embracing what we have. Well, what we have, we've got the older versus the younger working together. If they paired together with that knowledge together, it could really be a positive outcome. But, honestly, let's take a really, really big step back and say, let's focus on the outcome and not just the method. If the work gets done, does it matter how the process looks? I mean, does it look differently? Yes. But the work is getting done, and we're all more efficient in doing so.
Well, that being the case, I think that might be one of the sources of conflict, where it might have taken a worker from 20 years ago, might have taken 4 or 5 hours to get a task completed. Today's worker, because of technology and because of their proficiency within that technology, they can get something done in an hour or so that might have taken 4 times longer in another day. But now then you have to find things for that person to do. Is it remaining there at the job? Is it moving out and adding more tasks? How is that going to look in 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, I think that you're on the verge of talking about AI advances, and we're really looking at innovation and how they're being utilized. Is it just the young generations using AI and pairing with it? It's going to look a lot more like more production, less hours, and less idea of who's doing the job behind the screen or behind the building or behind the tools. I think it's something to embrace. I know it's something to embrace. I'm in the workforce every day, and Gen Z is really something we can learn from. Instead of just continuing to push it away, they really have a new, unique idea and perspective. So.
Jennifer Cornick is our guest. She's worked, as I said, in a number of different enterprises, especially in the field of human resources. I'm interested in your military background because you're a U.S. Navy vet. And so you have that as part of your work structure or your career structure. How does that work in relation to younger workers and older workers mixing together?
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, proud to serve my country for about 12 years. What that did, what that's doing is allowing me to see things in a process base, right? So you look at the military; they've got processes. They've got everything in black and white. Growing into that and then walking into the civilian world, into the human resource sector, it kind of allowed me to understand what the difference is between black and white in the military and what it means to look at the gray area. And I think that, that brings up a very good point about how the military structures itself. And, we got a step-by-step process and a black and white process for everything. But what we're doing today is looking at the gray area. So coming from a black and white environment, per se with protocols and procedures, looking at the gray area, there's a lot of room for growth and opportunity and a new, fresh perspective. Again, just what Gen Z is walking out and saying and really, really utilizing everything at every avenue.
It's interesting. With that background, there probably is no other industry that is as scrutinized as the military industry. And so you have sort of a laboratory there, don't you, for dealing with employees when you have a military background?
Yes. Yeah. Discipline. Yeah. I mean, we can get into that part. Yeah, for sure. There's, protocol, processes, and discipline. I mean, there's, so looking, using that and everything that I've learned in the workforce with, with being able to deal with what one step leads to the next step and the next step. So, yeah.
She's got a tremendous background in a number of different industries. She is Jennifer Cornick, kind enough to join us here today. Jennifer, thanks so much for being with us today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it. Have a fantastic day.
You too. Thanks. It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com.